Why does it feel like everyone secretly hates me? Why do I think everyone is judging me? Why can't I stop replaying that one thing I said? If you're here, you've probably felt it. That quiet, sinking certainty that people are talking about you the second you leave the room. That your friends are only tolerating you. That somewhere behind the smiles, there's judgment. Here's what I need you to hear first. You're not imagining that the feeling exists, but you are almost certainly wrong about what it means. Because this feeling isn't evidence. It's a mechanism. And today, we're going to open it up and look at exactly how it works. Let's begin with the machine running quietly behind your eyes. Your brain did not evolve to make you happy. It evolved to keep you alive. And for most of human history, being disliked by your group wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Exile from the tribe often meant death. So your brain built a warning system. A hypersensitive radar constantly scanning for the smallest sign of social rejection. A flat tone, a delayed reply, a face that didn't light up the way you expected. This is called negativity bias, and it's one of the most well-documented patterns in psychology. Your brain registers negative social signals faster, stores them longer, and weighs them more heavily than positive ones. 100 people can be neutral towards you, and one slightly off comment will be the only thing you remember by the end of the day. That's not weakness. That's a smoke detector doing exactly what it was built to do, even when there's no fire. But there's a second mechanism working alongside it, and this one is even stranger. Psychologists call it the spotlight effect. Researcher Thomas Gilovich ran a now-famous study where participants wore an embarrassing t-shirt into a room of strangers, then guessed how many people had noticed. They overestimated it by nearly double. In their minds, they were the center of attention. In reality, almost nobody had looked at them twice. You are, in your own mind, the main character of every room you walk into. So you assume everyone else is watching you as closely as you're watching yourself. They are not. They're each running their own spotlight, starring in their own story, worried about their own flat tone and delayed reply. The judgment you're afraid of is mostly a projection of a stage that exists only inside your own head. Now here's where it gets sharper, more personal, more clinical. If this feeling isn't occasional, if it's constant, if it follows you into almost every room, every group chat, every silence after you speak, there's usually a third layer underneath it. Psychologists call it rejection sensitivity, and it often has roots in something specific, an earlier period where approval felt conditional. A critical parent, a social rejection that landed hard during adolescence, when identity is still being formed. A pattern of being made to feel like too much or not enough. The nervous system learns a rule from that experience. Connection is unstable, so stay alert. And once that rule is written, it doesn't stay in the past. It runs in the background of every new relationship, treating harmless moments, someone seeming distracted, a joke that didn't land, as if they were the same threat from years ago. This is why the feeling shows up even around people who have shown you, repeatedly, that they care. Your rational mind knows the evidence. Your alarm system doesn't check evidence. It just checks pattern match. And here's the part that makes this so exhausting to live with. The more anxious you feel in a social interaction, the more your behavior actually starts to change. You get quieter, more guarded, more scanning than present. Psychologists call this a self-fulfilling prophecy. The fear of being disliked can make you behave in ways that are, ironically, harder to connect with. Not because people were judging you from the start. Because the armor you put on to protect yourself is the exact thing that creates distance. You end up manufacturing a small piece of the very rejection you were afraid of. So let's be honest about the real cost of living inside this loop. Chronic social anxiety and rejection sensitivity are linked, in research, to withdrawal from relationships, avoidance of opportunities, and a kind of self-censorship that keeps people small, quiet in meetings when they had the better idea, absent from gatherings where they'd actually be welcomed, holding back the version of themselves that other people would probably like the most. The tragedy isn't that people hate you. The tragedy is that you've been editing yourself down for an audience that was never as harsh as you imagined. And the edited version is the one being met with distance, which then gets read as proof the fear was right all along. It's a closed loop. And closed loops don't fix themselves. They have to be interrupted deliberately from the outside. So here's the clinical reframe, and I want you to actually sit with this one. The feeling that everyone hates you is not a signal about other people. It's a signal about an overactive threat detection system running an outdated program. It was built to protect a version of you that no longer exists, in situations that no longer apply. You don't fix it by seeking constant reassurance. That only feeds the alarm system more data to keep checking. You fix it by testing the belief instead of obeying it. Notice the thought, they probably think I'm annoying, and treat it exactly like a hypothesis, not a fact. Ask what actual evidence supports it, separate from the feeling. Most of the time, there is none. There's a silence you filled in yourself, a tone you interpreted without asking, a story your nervous system wrote because a story is more useful to it than uncertainty. And practice sitting in that uncertainty, without resolving it in the worst possible direction. That single skill, tolerating ambiguity instead of assuming the worst, is one of the most consistently effective tools in cognitive behavioral therapy for exactly this pattern. You are not the villain in everyone's story. You're not even the main character in most of them. Most people are too busy running their own spotlight to be running yours. The version of you that stops editing itself down, that speaks the unfiltered idea, that shows up fully instead of scanning the room for danger, that version isn't reckless. It's finally accurate. It's finally responding to the world as it actually is, instead of the world your alarm system keeps insisting it might be. If this helped you see the mechanism instead of just feeling it, subscribe to Morphic Depth. We take the psychology apart, piece by piece, so the fear stops running the show.